Hi all, welcome to the channel Cloud Knowledge. Today in this video, we'll study about execute pipeline activity in Azure Data Factory and Synapse Analytics pipelines. This is also a control flow activity and comes under the same documentation of Data Factory under how-to guides under control flow list of activities with the name as execute pipeline. So what it does is it allows a data factory or Synapse pipeline to invoke another pipeline. One pipeline will invoke another pipeline. Then it is given how we have to create this activity in the pipeline using the UI or the portal. So you can see here the name execute pipeline. It has a settings tab where we have to select the invoke pipeline. Then there are other settings, wait on completion, adding of the parameters. This is what we are going to learn in this video. Then we have to select existing pipeline as the invoke pipeline or the child pipeline, or we can create a new one. Here are the different settings which are given for this example, which is used in this standard documentation by Microsoft, and the properties, name, type, pipeline parameters, wait on completion, etc. And the sample example which is given here is consisting of two pipelines. Here they have named it as master pipeline, invoke pipeline. So in the master pipeline, they have one execute pipeline activity that calls invoke pipeline or the child pipeline and has two parameters, and the child pipeline or the invoke pipeline also has two parameters and one copy activity. And this copy activity copies data from one blob to another blob, that is source to sink, using parameters. Okay. So similar example we are going to demonstrate in this video. But before demonstrating, let's go to the whiteboard and see what we are going to do. So as we read that execute pipeline activity, it triggers another pipeline from a pipeline, or it invokes child pipeline from master pipeline. So basically we are creating master and child hierarchy. So let's say this is master pipeline and here we have child pipeline. And as per the standard documentation, in the master pipeline we have this execute pipeline activity. This activity here, in the activity we have to select the child pipeline. So we'll select from here the child pipeline, and in the child pipeline we will write what it has to do. So in the example we'll be taking a copy activity which will copy the data from source to sink. Okay, source and sink. Here we'll create two parameters for input and output, as well as here for the source and the sink files. Okay, why we are doing it? Because it will help in creation of this master child hierarchy, and this master child hierarchy will enable the logical separation of the pipelines. Another important usage of execute pipeline activity comes when we have to overcome the limitation of for each activity. That is, we can overcome the nested for each limitation. So let's now go to the portal and start the demonstration. We'll go here to the Azure portal and to the author tab. We'll create a new pipeline. We'll name this pipeline as pipeline master, and we'll create another pipeline and name it as pipeline child, master and child. So in the master pipeline, in the demonstration, we have to take the execute pipeline activity. It lies under the general tab with the name as execute pipeline. So we'll take this in the canvas. In the general tab, we'll leave the name and description as is. We'll go to the settings tab, and here in the invoke pipeline, we have to select the child pipeline. The child pipeline we have created is named as pipeline child. So we'll search with the name child, we'll find the pipeline, we'll select it, and we'll leave the settings as is. Wait on completion, we'll leave it as checked. We want it to complete successfully, then only we'll proceed with the further activities. So we'll leave it as is here, and this wait on completion signifies that, if you read here, defines whether activity execution waits for the dependent pipeline execution to finish. It is by default true, Boolean. So we have selected the invoke pipeline or the child pipeline. Next, we'll go to the child pipeline. And in the child pipeline, we will take the copy activity. We'll take the copy activity in the canvas. We have to perform copy operation from source to sink. So we'll go to the source tab. Here we have to give the file name as parameter in this example. So let's first go to the storage account and see what files or what folder files we need to copy in this example. So let's here go to the storage account, to the containers, and let's select input. Let's select input files. Here we have different CSVs, okay? And let's open the output location too. Let's go to the containers, to the output location, and here let's say we want to land the files. So we'll go back here and select the source data set. So we'll select here data lake storage gen 2, delimited text. We'll name it as execute pipeline copy input storage gen 2. We'll select the file path. It's inside the input folder. Inside the input files, any of the files we will select. That's why we are not selecting the file. We'll parameterize it. Click OK. First res header, import schema none, and we'll click OK. Right. Next, we will open this data set. And in the data set, we have to create parameter for the file name. So we'll go to the parameter section, click on plus new. Okay. It will be input file name of the child pipeline, right? And here in the file name, we'll add the dynamic content and select this parameter, input file name child. Let's go back here, and here we could see that the input file name child has appeared, and we have to add the dynamic content here. So in order to take the value here from the pipeline, we have to go here back in the white space of the pipeline and create the pipeline parameters. So we'll click on plus new and create file input child, and here in the source we will add the dynamic content file input child. Done. Go to the sink and we'll select the dataset for the sink. It's storage into account, delimited text. We'll name it as EP sync. Link service is already there. It's Gen 2. And since it is copy operation, the file will be generated automatically. We have to browse only up to the folder location in the output folder. Okay. So let's say we have selected the output container, and since there is only one folder, we will give this value. Else, we will create more folders and then we'll select the folder as parameter and then copy the file. Okay. So we'll select up to the container level, click OK. First res header, import schema none, click OK. Looks good. We'll open this and we'll create parameter for the folder. Okay, output folder. So we'll name it as folder output child pipeline, right? We'll go back to the pipeline, and in the pipeline we have to pass the value for the folder. So we'll go back to the pipeline parameters and create a new parameter which will be folder output child. And this is what we are going to add here in the dynamic content. Folder output child. We'll select the folder and the file will be copied. Okay. And in the meantime, since we have selected folder, we'll go to the output folder in the storage account and create one more folder. So we'll name it as output 2 maybe, so that we have two options and we can copy the files in one of these two folders. Okay. Good. So this looks good. The settings of the datasets for the copy activity. Now we'll go to the master pipeline. And here we could see that for the invoke pipeline child, whatever parameters, pipeline parameters we had defined, those are appearing here. Let's go back here in the child and to the parameters. File input child, folder output child was created, and the same is visible in the execute pipeline activity of the master pipeline, right? So here we have to give the dynamic content. Okay, so we have to create pipeline parameters for this master pipeline so that we will pass the value to the master pipeline parameters, and that will go in turn to the child pipeline and it will execute. So we'll create here file input master and folder output master. Correct? Here we have created for the source file from the master pipeline to execute, and the folder name which we have to give for the output, that is for the sync dataset. Okay. Now we'll again click on the execute pipeline activity, and here in the parameters we have to add the dynamic content. So from this pipeline master, we will select file input master, and folder output child we have to select folder output master. Okay, so the settings look okay here. We will now publish the changes and validate as well. It's validated. Child pipeline also validated. We'll go back to the master and click on debug run. When we click on debug, we will get here the option to give file input master and folder output master to select which file has to be transferred or copied from the input folder. If we go to the storage account, here we have several CSVs. Let's copy class 9 students.csv, copy the name, go to the pipeline, paste here. Folder output master, which folder you want to copy. One important thing I think we missed is if we go to the child pipeline copy activity sync level and to the sync dataset, we have not added in the connection here the dynamic content for the folder. So we'll add here, we forgot this, we have to select this. Okay, folder output child. Correct? And then the file name will be created, whatever is copied from the source. This we missed. We created the parameter, but we forgot to add it here in the file path. Now it's added. We'll publish the changes. We'll go back to the master and we'll go for the debug run. The pipeline got executed, I think, and we'll rerun the pipeline. So we'll perform debug run and we'll add the value, that is this CSV, and we want to land it into the folder, let's say output 2 folder. So we'll give the parameter value and click OK. So let's wait for the pipeline to finish. It shows it's in progress. Let's wait for its completion. Click on refresh. It succeeded. So here we can see in the input that it's referencing to the child pipeline and the other details or the properties of the execute pipeline activity. And if we open the output, it shows the pipeline run ID of the child pipeline. Okay, pipeline child. Then we have to click on this pipeline run ID. If we click on that run ID, it will open up the pipeline child for us. Okay, and in the child pipeline, we could see that it also got succeeded. If we click here in the output, the copy activity executed. Now our job is to see whether the file got copied into the output folder or not. We'll click here and we could see that the same time the file also got copied. Since we selected output 2 folder, it got copied here. So what happens? So what happens is that through master pipeline, we are able to execute child pipeline. And the parameters are also passed into the master pipeline for execution. So this has helped us to create the master-child relationship as well as logically separate the pipelines. In the output of the execute pipeline activity, we have to always open the pipeline run ID so that it will take us to the pipeline. So that it will take us to the child pipeline and to the execution of the child pipeline, the run details. So this is how we can implement simple master-child relationship using execute pipeline activity in ADF and Synapse pipelines. We'll study more about execute pipeline activity in the upcoming videos by taking different examples. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any queries, do let me know in comments. Happy learning. Bye.